Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. So I know this is a bit late. I wanted to talk about the Chinese military parade. So this happened a few weeks ago, and something is very different with this parade compared to the other parades that China did. So if you guys live in the West, you will know that Chinese military parades are not very much covered in the Western papers. I live in the UK. And in the previous years, you would never mention it. You would never see it in the BBC or Guardian or anything, any other papers. They might mention a small paragraph here and there, a small article, very small article that you won't even notice. Definitely not in the front page, probably in page 6 or 7. And people will not talk about it or people would ignore it. However, this year is very different. This year is front page news everywhere. Like Guardian, Telegraph, they were having this on the front page. Even in American Fox News, they were covering it, and all these American papers were covering it. Even Trump himself, he said that he was watching it, live. He was watching it from his bedroom or something. And so things are very different. So why is it suddenly covered this year a lot? The main reason is there's a huge amount of leaders that went into this Chinese military parade, and I think Guardian sums it up perfectly. You can see how the Guardian is trying to frame it. They're calling these leaders anti-West leaders, by the way, and so they're saying, "Oh, all the anti-West leaders all joining together." Because you had obviously the North Korean leader, you had Putin, and you have many Central Asian leaders. Well, I don't say all of them were anti-West. I wouldn't say all of them were anti-West. They are definitely friends of China, friends of Russia. And I think the West was really jealous, guys. I think this is the first time I've actually seen the jealousy coming out of the Western papers. Even Trump himself was jealous, and I'm sure that Trump wanted to go. Because this is the kind of stuff Trump loves. He loves these spectacles and events. I'm sure Trump would have loved to go there, but I think certain people in power above him told him not to go. So I'm sure he would have loved to go, but obviously he couldn't because his masters are telling him not to. There's still a lot of anti-Chinese neocons controlling America, and I think, yeah, he basically told him not to go. But I'm sure he would have loved to go. So these even the foreign press is now saying that the Chinese military is now leading American military. And yeah, and you can see, first of all, how what a great parade that was. First of all, and that was actually one of the best parades I've ever seen. It was even better than last year. And you can see all the new weapons and technologies that China was bringing out, all the new drones, all the new missiles. And I think what makes this different is compared to the other kind of military parades is the triad as well. The triad military nuclear defense or the nuclear delivery system. The triad means you can deliver a nuclear payload using the sea, using land, and using the air. And I think this is the first time China showed that they are a triad nation. And triad nation, there's only three countries that are triad nations, which is America, China, and Russia. These three countries are the only countries who have a triad system. Not even UK or France has a triad, by the way. Yeah, they have nuclear subs. They have you can fire missiles, but their missiles cannot reach the rest of the world, and they do not have stealth fighters like Russia does, like America does, or like China does, that can send, missiles to the other part of the world. Britain and France do not have that capability. So only three countries have that capability of delivering a payload anywhere in the world. That's what triad means. So this is the first time they showed the triad. They also showed lots of kind of drone technology, all the latest gear. And I think, America was really, really jealous. America has been spending all of their money, all of their equipment on wars throughout the centuries. Throughout my life, America has always been in a war throughout my life. And I think throughout the 20th century, America has been in one war or another. I don't think they've ever had a break. They've always been in war, some sort of war, whether it's a proxy war or a hot war or a cold war. They've always been in some sort of war. And they have spent trillions and trillions of dollars on their war machine, trillions. And this is why America itself is like a third world country. I mean, their infrastructure is falling apart. People are losing their middle class statuses. They are living paycheck to paycheck. They are in huge amount of debt, mainly because of the war. And this reminds me of the Roman times, the end times of the Roman times, when, basically, now the dollar is falling. You can see the dollar is falling. Back then, in the end of Roman times, the denarius was falling. There was huge debt. There was huge inflation. They were in non-stop wars. They were putting all their monies into fighting wars, and rather than putting it into the state. So it's very much similar to what's happening in Rome. These are the final days, and I think the world can see that China, without fighting any wars, they are still very strong, but they're also putting money into their country as well. And more leaders are now becoming friends with China. And I think what the West is really worried about is the amount of leaders that went to watch this military parade from all over the world. These are powerful countries, and they can see, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they thought that China didn't have much friends around the world, but things have changed now. Now they have superpowers like Putin, they have nuclear powers like North Korea, they have, you know, um, basically economic powers like Indonesia and Malaysia and all the surrounding countries and Central Asian countries, even countries from Europe as well, now becoming closer and closer to China. And I think this is really worrying the West. They are seeing the world changing. They are seeing the world moving into a multipolar world, and they do not like that because I think they wanted the world to become unipolar for the rest of humanity and rest of time. They wanted to control the world, and I think they are losing their grip on the world, and this is what's really scaring them. And And this military kind of parade, I think, it's the first parade where he actually hit them very hard, and they have realized now that China is leading in military, the economy, and they are not talking about war with China anymore. I think 5 years ago or 10 years ago, you can see in all the articles, we want to go to war with China. Even in Trump's first term, I don't know if you guys remember, in Trump's first term, United States and China came very close to a hot war a few times. Even during Biden was really pushing it with China. He was saying, "Oh, we're going to have a hot war with China." He said it about 3 or 4 times over Taiwan. He said that many times. But they're not saying it now, if you notice. They are not talking about a hot war with China anymore. None of the Western papers are saying it. Even Trump is not even saying it. None of his administration is saying it. And so things have changed now. Now they realize, oh crap, it's too late. We cannot have a war with China anymore. I mean, we cannot win against a sanction war with them because I think when Trump was increasing the tariffs to 145%, he had to go back because he was losing the trade war with China. And so they cannot win in an economic war, they cannot win in a trade war, they cannot win in a sanctions war with China. Now they cannot win in a hot war with China. And I think this has become a big realization for them and a big shock for them, for the West. Now you are seeing lots of these articles saying China's military is now leading, and lots of jealous articles about lots of anti-West leaders going into China. But you have to realize all of this military tech that China has been doing, all this military that China has been building, this is all in-house. A lot of people don't realize this, but China had arms embargo on it since the 1980s, so they were not allowed to buy any Western arms. China's military has no Western arms whatsoever, none. Not even a missile, not even a bullet is bought from the West. Nothing, absolutely nothing, because there's been an arms embargo against China. So everything China has built by itself or with some help, and or they have bought from Russia as well. Because they do have some Russian weapons mainly, but it's mainly Russians. And I think that's it. I don't think they buy weapons from any other country. Everything else is pretty much Chinese. And even Russia's losing the market in China as well. More like, for example, these helicopters you see from this picture. These are brand new helicopters that China has built, the Z-20, I believe. And previously, they used to buy helicopters from Russia, but I don't think that's going to be required anymore. Now, China can build its own helicopters. You know, they have built everything from scratch, from nuclear subs to airplanes to jet fighters to fifth generation jet fighters to sixth generation jet fighters, the anti-aircraft missiles, the intercontinental missiles, ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, you name it, everything there China has built by itself because China knows they have to be self-sufficient and they are the factory of the world. So if so if they are in a war and they are running low on missiles or they're running low on subs or they're running low on planes, they have all the factories in place to build brand new ones. So imagine all the factories in China suddenly becoming a military factory overnight and start churning out brand new planes and brand new subs, brand new missiles. They can do that. You know, they have the know-how, they have the technology, all of their stuff is in-house, and they have all the manufacturing as well. They have all the resources available. So this is why America can never ever win a war against China, not in a million years. Unless it goes nuclear, but if it goes nuclear, then America would perish as well as China, as well as the rest of the world. So definitely not in a kinetic war, they can never win. So things are changing now in China, guys. So let me know what you guys think. What did you think of the military uh, parade, and what are your thoughts? Let me know. Take care, and I'll see you soon.